I was standing outside the comms tent at Camp Lemonnier, Djibouti, when the notification buzzed on my phone. I thought it was another nightly update from command or maybe a message from home. Something normal. I opened it without thinking. The subject line stopped me cold. "Let's handle this like adults." At first I thought it was a mistake, maybe a joke. Lindsay wasn't perfect, but she wasn't cruel either, or at least I used to believe that. There were 3 sentences. She had filed for divorce. She had emptied our joint accounts. She had moved on. That was it. 13 years, boiled down to a 3-line memo sent while I was half a world away. Dodging mortars and sweating through body armor, I stared at the screen for a long time. No reaction, no shouting, no smashing the phone. My training kicked in. Emotions are distractions. Distractions get you killed. I turned off the screen, slipped the phone back into my pocket, and went back to work, like nothing happened. Later that night, lying on my bunk under a fan that barely stirred the thick desert heat, I opened the email again. Maybe I'd missed something. Maybe there was an apology, a reason, a hint that she had struggled with the decision. There wasn't. Instead, I noticed something else, a legal attachment, a PDF file already filed with a Texas county clerk. She hadn't just decided on a whim. She had planned this, filed it, served it. Sent the email as an afterthought. Cold, calculated, final. The man in the bunk across from me, Ramirez, glanced up from his book. "You good, Carter?" he asked casually. I nodded once. "Yeah, just some stuff back home." He didn't press. That's the thing about soldiers. We know when to leave each other alone. I pulled the thin blanket up over my chest and stared at the ceiling. The whir of the fan, the distant rumble of trucks, the low murmurs of late-night conversations, all of it faded under the weight sitting on my chest. I thought about the last time I saw Lindsay. At the airport 5 months earlier, she hugged me stiffly, patted my shoulder like I was an acquaintance, and said, "Be safe." No tears, no lingering goodbye. I should have known then. Hell, I did know. But I was stupid enough to hope. Anyway, hope gets you killed too. By morning, I'd already buried it. The anger, the sadness, the disbelief. No time for that. There's a mission to finish, battles to fight. I learned a long time ago, when the floor drops out from under you. You don't scream, you don't cry. You land hard, pick up your weapon, and keep moving. And that's exactly what I did. It took me a couple days to find a solid enough signal to log into our bank accounts. Even then, the screen kept freezing, spinning the little loading wheel like it was mocking me. Finally, it opened. The numbers hit me like a gut punch. Our main checking account drained. Our savings account zeroed out. The joint investment account closed. I stared at the screen, unblinking. Lindsay hadn't just left. She'd gutted everything. Torn out the wiring of the life we built together and set the place on fire. For a few minutes, I just sat there breathing through it. No point getting mad where I was. Too many guys depending on me. Too much mission left. But I wasn't done checking. Years ago, after my second deployment, I started restoring classic cars. It became my therapy, my peace. Some guys drank, some gambled. I fixed engines. It made sense in a way people didn't. 7 cars, each one restored by hand. Each one titled in my name only. Each one a piece of me. I pulled up the app connected to the GPS trackers I'd hidden inside. Each car, I installed them years ago. Not because I didn't trust Lindsay, but because theft happens. Insurance demanded it. One by one, I checked the trackers. Nothing, no signals, no pings, all offline. My pulse hammered in my ears. I switched apps, started searching local Austin dealership inventories. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe they were in storage and the GPS batteries had just died. 10 minutes later, I wasn't guessing anymore. I found my 1967 Mustang GT500 listed for sale at a dealership. Derek Shaw worked at Derek Shaw, the same man whose name had shown up on a few of Lindsay's Facebook posts when I checked months ago. Coincidence? I didn't believe in coincidences anymore. Another search pulled up my 72 Chevelle, priced insultingly low, half of what it was worth, in a classified ad 2 counties over. No mention of my name, no listing of a title transfer, just motivated seller, cash only. Rage crept up my spine like an electric current. She hadn't just taken the money. She had stripped my life for parts and sold it to the highest bidder. I thought about the hours, no years I'd spent restoring those cars. The nights under fluorescent lights grease caked into my skin, trying to build something permanent when everything else in life felt temporary. Gone. Like none of it ever mattered. I closed my laptop and stood up too fast. The room tilting around me for a second. I planted my hands on the rickety metal desk, breathing through my nose until the blood stopped roaring in my ears. I couldn't leave Djibouti yet. Orders were orders, but I could start moving chess pieces into place. I wasn't stupid enough to confront Lindsay directly. Not yet. You don't fire your first shot without a plan. Instead, I sent a short encrypted message to Miles Grant back in Austin Need. Legal advice, urgent, discreet, personal. His reply came an hour later. Secure line, call, ASAP. That night, sitting under a cracked ceiling fan in a desert far from anything that used to feel like home, I laid out everything for Miles, the divorce, the drained accounts, the stolen cars. He listened without interrupting, the way real friends do. When I finished, he didn't say sorry, or that's rough, or any of the 1,000 useless things people say when they don't know what else to offer. He said, all right, let's ruin them. I smiled for the first time in days. Not because this was funny, not because any of it was okay, but because at least now it was war. And no one, not Lindsay, not Derek, not anyone knew yet that I was coming. Miles and I didn't waste time with outrage or pity. Those emotions had their place, just not here. Here, there was only strategy. First step documentation. I spent my next 2 nights off shift, combing through every digital footprint Lindsay left behind. Bank records, property titles, vehicle registrations, emails, old messages, I hadn't deleted out of habit. Every scrap I could pull together, I forwarded to Miles through encrypted channels. We needed a clear, bulletproof timeline, not just suspicions. Miles called me 2 days later, voice calm and surgical, over the line. Jack, listen carefully. If she sold those cars without your consent, and if your active duty status protects them, we're not just talking about a civil lawsuit. This is federal fraud. That was music to my ears. Before I deployed, I'd taken the time to apply special protections to my assets through the Service Members Civil Relief Act. It wasn't something I advertised. It wasn't even something Lindsay ever asked about. But it meant that any major sale of my registered property without my active notarized authorization wasn't just shady. It was a federal crime. And Lindsay. She had walked straight into the bear trap without ever realizing it. Second step asset freeze. Miles filed emergency motions to flag my vehicles in the national database using proof of forged or missing signatures. He contacted the dealerships listing my cars, issuing legal warnings that they might be in possession of stolen goods. Quietly, without Lindsay knowing, pieces of her little fire sale were starting to lock up. Third step surveillance. Luckily, I wasn't exactly starting from scratch. Before I left, I'd upgraded the security system at the house, multiple hidden cameras, full remote access cloud storage, a little insurance policy. I logged in from my laptop at base and saw snapshots of Lindsay's new life playing out on my front porch, Derek Shaw's truck in the driveway, strangers walking around in my garage. A for sale sign quietly tucked along the side of the house. It wasn't just about the cars anymore. They were trying to sell the house too. The house that was purchased with my VA loan benefits. The house still titled under my name alone. If they succeeded, if they pulled this off, I'd lose everything I'd spent 15 years building. That's when I stopped thinking about this as personal betrayal and started seeing it for what it really was. An attack. You don't fight attacks with tears. You fight them with precision. You fight them with patience. You fight them so thoroughly that no one ever forgets what happens when they come for what's yours. I stared at the grainy camera footage of Derek leaning against the hood of my truck, laughing about God knows what, wearing my old Texas Longhorn sweatshirt like he owned the place. And I made myself a promise right then and there, they wouldn't even see me coming. When my boots finally hit American soil, there was no welcome party. No banners, no hugs, just the sterile hum of an airport terminal and the weight of unfinished business hanging over my head. Perfect. I didn't even stop by my house. Didn't call Lindsay. Didn't call anyone except Miles. We met at a rundown diner on the edge of Austin, the kind of place where the coffee tastes like burnt rubber and nobody asks questions. Miles slid into the booth across from me, wearing a ball cap pulled low and a jacket that had seen better days. He looked like hell, and I probably looked worse. Jesus, Jack, he said, giving me a once-over. "You look like a ghost. Feels about right?" I muttered, wrapping my hands around the chipped coffee mug. No small talk, no catching up. We got to work. Miles laid out everything he'd gathered while I was gone. Proof. Lindsay had moved Derek into my house. Evidence she'd sold 4 of my 7 cars without legal title transfers. Listings showing they were quietly prepping the house for a fast undermarket sale. And then the best part, a signed power of attorney document that Lindsay had used to authorize the sale of one of the vehicles. Except it wasn't signed by me. It was a forgery, sloppy too. The signature didn't even match the one on my driver's license or VA loan paperwork. Miles grinned when he slid the copy across the table. "You handed her the rope." "Jack. She tied the noose herself." I smiled back, first real smile in weeks. Next step was tricky. We couldn't just slam her with legal action, yet not until we had her dead to rights on intent. It's one thing to catch a thief. It's another to prove they knew exactly what they were doing. That's when I decided I wasn't going back home. Not yet. I checked into a cheap motel downtown under a fake name. Cash. Only. No paper trail. I spent the next 2 days parked in a beat-up rental car, a few blocks away from my own house, watching waiting. Lindsay left every morning around 9, always dressed sharp, always on the phone. Derek's truck came and went at odd hours, usually hauling something: tools, furniture boxes. One afternoon, a real estate agent pulled up, clipboard polo shirt, big fake smile. I watched through binoculars as Derek shook his hand and led him inside. They were staging the house, listing it, selling my house while I was still breathing. Miles called that night. "You sure you want to play this slow?" he asked. "You've got enough to bury her right now." "Not yet," I said, my voice calm as ice. "I want them comfortable. I want them careless." I opened the security app on my phone and watched the footage streaming from my living room camera. There was Derek putting up cheap decorations to make the place look homey. There was Lindsay laughing, acting like she hadn't stolen half a lifetime from me. They thought they'd already won, and that was their mistake. Because the thing about ambushes is simple. They work best when the enemy never sees them coming. The thing about revenge is, if you do it right, it doesn't feel like revenge at all. It feels like justice. Miles and I spent the next 48 hours laying the groundwork, carefully, quietly. No sudden moves. First, we pulled the title documents for the house. Legally, it was still mine alone, bought through the VA loan title held in my name. Lindsay's name wasn't anywhere near the deed, despite her acting like it was hers to sell. Second, Miles filed a notice of interest with the county clerk's office, effectively freezing any sale attempts. No escrow company would dare touch the property once they saw it. Third, we took screenshots and video clips from my home security cameras. Derek giving tours to potential buyers. Lindsay signing papers without authorization. Date stamped, time stamped. Uploaded, straight to cloud storage. And then we got the big one. The audio recording. From my hidden living room camera, crystal clear. Derek talking to the real estate agent about listing the property. "Don't worry about the paperwork," he said, casually leaning against the kitchen counter. "I installed with my own 2 hands. The owner's overseas. My girl's handling it. No power of attorney, no legal authority. Just a smile and a lie." Miles listened to the clip twice, then sat back in his chair and grinned. They just committed felony real estate fraud on tape. "Good," I said, my voice flat. "Let's finish this." We compiled everything into a neat little package: fraudulent title, sales, unauthorized property sales attempts, identity forgery, illegal transfer of protected military assets. We sent the package straight to the bank, handling the supposed house sale, to the police department's financial crimes division, and just for good measure to the FBI field office that handled military-related financial fraud. Now, all we had to do was wait. The call came 2 days later. The bank froze the mortgage account and flagged the property. The dealership selling my Mustang pulled the car off the lot, pending investigation. An officer from Austin PD left a business card tucked into Lindsay's front door. And me, I was parked 3 houses down, sipping black coffee from a paper cup, watching it all happen. Lindsay came home that afternoon, dressed in a sleek navy blue blazer, looking every inch the respectable suburban divorcee. Until she saw the cop car parked out front. She stopped dead in the driveway, keys clutched in her hand, shoulders stiffening. Derek pulled up 5 minutes later, hauling another load of stolen furniture in his beat-up Silverado. He didn't even get a chance to kill the engine before the officers approached him. I watched through binoculars as he argued, gestured wildly, then slumped against his truck. Defeated Miles called, barely able to contain the satisfaction in his voice. "They just detained Derek Lindsay's next. You want to press full charges?" I stared down at the scene unfolding on the street, the lies, the betrayal, the stolen pieces of my life, all crumbling in front of me. Press everything I said, don't leave a single crack for them to squeeze through. Because this wasn't about getting even anymore. This was about making damn sure they never forgot the name Jack Carter. Not today, not ever. The first text came about an hour after the cops left my driveway. "Jack, we need to talk. Please." I didn't respond. Half an hour later, another one. I didn't mean for it to go this far. "Can we meet?" Still nothing from me. By nightfall, she switched tactics, calling instead of texting. 5 missed calls in a row, then voicemails. Her voice, usually so polished, cracked around the edges. "Now, Jack, they're freezing everything. The house, the accounts. Derek says we could lose everything if you don't cooperate. Please, let's work this out like adults." I almost laughed at that. Like adults. The same phrase she had used to gut our marriage by email. The same phrase she used while stealing everything that wasn't nailed down. Funny how people only want fairness when they're the ones bleeding. Miles texted me that night, "Lindsay just tried to call the bank. They're refusing to speak to her without you present." I smiled grimly. Everything was unfolding exactly the way we planned. The next day she switched gears again, softer this time. Almost nostalgic. "I miss you. I made mistakes. We both did. Please don't throw everything away." The audacity of it almost stunned me. She threw away our marriage the second she drained our accounts. She torched the life we built when she sold off my cars like they were junkyard trash. "No, Lindsay. You don't get to come back from that." I never answered. Not once. Not a word. Some silences are louder than any screaming match ever could be. At night, I would pull up the security feed and watch her pacing the living room, frantic. Her new boyfriend was gone, bolted. The second things got rough. Good. Let her feel it. Let her marinate in the consequences. She thought she'd never have to face. I didn't block her number. I wanted her to keep reaching out. I wanted her to feel the coldness pressing in from every side. Because Lindsay Carter needed to learn a lesson the hard way. When you betray a soldier, you don't just face his anger, you face his discipline. 2 days after Lindsay's last desperate voicemail, the real hammer dropped. I was sitting in my rental car, engine off, parked under a crooked oak tree down the street from my old house. Watching, waiting. An unmarked black SUV rolled up to the curb. 2 men in plain clothes stepped out, badged around their necks. FBI, Agent Patel and Agent Donovan. White shirts, sharp eyes, no wasted movements Miles had sent them. Everything, the forged signatures, the fraudulent sales, the attempts to offload my house while I was deployed overseas, protected under federal law. I watched through the binoculars as they knocked on my front door. Lindsay answered wearing that fake suburban smile she probably thought still worked. It didn't. The agent stepped inside. 5 minutes later, Derek showed up, either too stupid or too cocky to realize what was happening. When he tried to walk into the house, they intercepted him. 15 minutes after that, both of them were in cuffs. Fraud wire, fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit real estate fraud against an active duty service member, federal charges. Big boy prison time. I stayed hidden, watching it all unfold, not with glee, not even with satisfaction exactly. Just a cold, settling sense of rightness, like a machine completing its intended function. Later that day, I met Miles at the same grimy diner, same booth, same burnt coffee. He slid a thick folder across the table to me. "It's done," he said simply. Inside the folder, full copies of the fraud charges, proof that the house sale had been legally frozen and placed solely under my control, bank records showing Lindsay's attempts to siphon funds, blocked at every turn. But the real cherry on top. Insurance claim approvals for the theft of my cars. Because here's the twist Lindsay never saw coming. Every one of my vehicles was not only GPS tracked, they were insured under a military deployment theft clause, meaning that the moment she sold them, without my authorization, the cars became stolen under the insurance terms. meaning the insurance companies owed me full market value plus damages. And Lindsay, she was facing additional felony charges for false sales of secured property. Miles leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, a rare smile flickering on his face. "You didn't just beat her, Jack," he said. "You annihilated her." I flipped through the documents, slowly savoring it, like a man nursing his first whiskey after a long deployment. No part of me felt guilty. She chose this. She built this. She thought she'd buried me under betrayal and paperwork. But she forgot one thing. Men like me, we don't break under pressure, we become pressure. As I signed the final settlement documents, a simple thought crossed my mind. Play stupid games, win federal indictments. And Lindsay Carter had just won the grand prize. The arraignment was held 2 weeks later. I didn't attend. Didn't need to. Miles sent me updates and clean clinical bullet points. Lindsay released on bail, barely. Derek still in holding after failing to post. Charges sticking, no technicalities, no loopholes. She tried to negotiate. Of course, tried to spin some sob story about how she didn't really understand what she was doing, that Derek had pressured her, that she just wanted to feel independent while I was away. The prosecutors didn't buy it. Neither did the agents who reviewed her dozens of text messages setting up fake sales, pocketing cash, laundering stolen assets. Intent was crystal clear. Malice was undeniable. In the end, Lindsay took a plea deal, full financial restitution to me. Every penny she had stolen, plus damages. Forfeiture of any claim to the house. Signed confessions on multiple fraud counts. And the cherry on top, a 10-year restriction from engaging in any property, financial, or real estate transactions without court supervision. Derek wasn't so lucky. He faced prison time. Real prison time, not some slap on the wrist. The house was legally and publicly returned to me. The cars, the ones I couldn't recover, were paid out through insurance, top dollar. When all was said and done, I didn't just survive what they did, I profited. Lindsay lost everything. The house, the money. The reputation she'd spent years polishing like some country club trophy wife. I heard from Miles that she moved back to her parents' small town, 2 states over, scraping together temp jobs, living in a rented trailer, trying to rebuild a life she shattered with her own bare hands. I didn't send her a message, didn't reach out, didn't even bother blocking her number. Let her sit there once in a while, staring at my contact name, wondering if redemption was ever coming. It wasn't. Sometimes justice doesn't come with a gavel. Sometimes justice is just a quiet man sitting on his front porch watching the sunset. Knowing the people who tried to destroy him ended up burying themselves instead. And that was enough for me.